So I thought it was a really good analogy.
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
so for if for the sake of, talking to people that are dropping in on this conversation real quick on our podcast here, but I have an electric car, Carl has an
Hmm.
electric car, and for the electric car people out there, they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about here. So like if you're going to go on a long trip or something like that, you know that you typically charge a car to 100%. Normally you don't, you charge about 80, but if you know you're going to be going for some distance, you charge up to 100% to make your journey. And if you think about it, that electric charge in that battery, that's the capacity you have. And when it's sitting at 100%, it's full, right? You've got the full capacity of the battery at on hand, right? Ready to go. Okay. But like, dude, like I'm the kind of guy like I'm at 100% and it's like 3 miles from my house to the freeway entrance. And like it'll drop 1% or something
And you're
like that.
like,
Like,
ruh-roh.
what the heck, man? Like it took me, or 2%. It's like
Yeah.
2% just to get to the freeway, man. I'm like at only 98, and then as I'm driving, even though all the computers are there, like, you got plenty of charge, plenty of room, plenty of
Man,
capacity. You know what I
man.
mean? You're still just watching that little percentage thing, go down, go down, go down. You're like, So it made me think about it. It's the same thing with our business. Every year, Steve, at the end of the year, whether it be it November, December, something like that,
Right.
we start doing our business planning for the next year. So just recently, this podcast is being filmed in January of 2025. We're the first weekend of January of 2025. And we start planning, for the year.
Right.
And we go, okay, I want to do $300,000 in 2025, right?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I think what we have to understand is like, look, man, there's 52 weeks in a year. Okay. And that equates to each week is about 2% of the year being used. And our year is like our it's like our capacity to meet our goal. It's our goal capacity, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's a time capacity.
it's
Yeah,
a
there's
time
limited
capacity.
time and you're 1 year. Yeah.
1 year, that's all you've got. Now the difference with the electric car, it
I
can
love
stop and
it.
recharge, but with our goals every year, can't, right? So we've got the 1 year. Every week equates to
Mm.
about 2%. So we're
Wow.
filming this on January 8th,
Which
2025.
is really
So
the first full week of the new year, which is exceptional. We normally don't timestamp these, but what a great message to
yeah.
set the mindset of what are you going to do with this year and seizing the opportunity, knowing that everybody started fresh this week.
Right. You're at
Everybody's at
100%.
zero.
Yeah, you were at
100%, man.
100% January 1.
Yeah.
Today it's January 8th. You're officially at 98%. Okay, you're officially at 98. Okay,
Yeah.
next this is Wednesday. So next
Yeah.
Wednesday, you're officially at 96. And just like
Mm.
with the car battery,
Yeah.
it it goes down, it's steadily going down, relentlessly going down. It's
Wow.
like it's dropping. There's nothing you can do to slow it down. There's nothing you can do to
Mhm.
stop it. You can't recharge it,
Yeah.
right? It is going down. So, with respect to, our goals and what we're trying to do and the things that we laid out and the activities that we know we need to do, we really need to redeem the time.
So
We
talk
need to.
about that. What do you mean by redeem the time?
So we have to look at it like this. There's two ways we can view it, right? And one way is okay, I'm down at 98%, which means, 2% is gone, right?
Yep.
And that could be a negative way to look at it. But the
Yep.
other way I could look at it is well, every day that's a new day for me is a
Hmm.
new opportunity to redeem the time and make sure I do the activities that I promised myself
Hmm.
I was going to do, to
Hmm.
make sure that I'm redeeming the time, because I know every week that goes by, I lose another 2%. Right. So
Yeah.
I really have to focus hard on making sure that I keep the commitment and the discipline to perform the activities that I promised myself that I was going to do,
Yeah.
right? In
It's a good
December,
one.
I promised myself this is what I was going to do. I promised my family. I
Yeah.
promised, myself personally. If you're a spiritual person, maybe you made some commitment to the Lord. You know what I mean? That, I'm going to do this. Are we going to do it? We've officially today, January 8th, 2025, we're officially 2% gone. Right.
Yes.
So that's what I mean by that. And the way I look at it is we need to look at every day as like awesome
Hmm.
opportunity.
Hmm.
Opportunity today to do what? Just do my activity, do the things I promised myself I was going to do.
I
And
love
if I
it.
do that and I'm faithful to it, when I look at the gauge, and I've got, 43% left, I can feel good about the time that I've expended, rather than now I got to try and play catch up and I've only got 43% left,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, I just, I was
So
just,
this is an awareness podcast, and it is
yeah,
making sure that we know, hey, we get the opportunity to start today and redeem that time, because every week you're going to see 2% come off over the next
Right.
52 weeks. So,
Right.
hey, what would you encourage somebody? I was talking to several people this week, and it was like I had such terrible call reluctance, and I didn't really feel it. And I found myself encouraging a lot of people. It's like, of course, you just came off the holidays. You
Right.
got the holidays. You got, it's okay. That's a feeling, but feelings don't drive activity unless we allow them to, right?
Right.
It's a choice. And then I do the activity and the feelings follow. So talk a little bit, to somebody. You got two camps: people that are fired up. It's like, yeah, seize the day. And others who are like, I'm still on holiday time. What would you say to them?
Well, what I would say is I like there's two things that come to mind. One, we
Yeah.
had our Call Star All Star winner today,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Which was Julia
Julia.
Lewis,
Yeah.
and new to the business loan
Yep.
officer, right?
Yep.
And so she closed her first deal, right? So she's
Yes.
very excited about that. She got 16 referrals
Already this month. Yeah.
already this month. It's the
Yeah,
eighth.
and she's what, 2-3 months in the business.
Yeah, very
Started, I
new.
think, in October, November, somewhere in there. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah,
wisely jumped into the coaching program right away. And
immediately. Yeah,
because she knew she needed guidance, she needed help, right? And so she jumped in and, we were asking her, Carl was asking her, you're this young person. You could be a lot of these realtors. You're calling seasoned real estate agents, which is
yeah,
which is the plan. We're not calling agents that are newbies. We're calling agents that have a lot of business who are currently doing business. That's the list we get to call, and that's who she's calling. So here she is, this young gal, Carl, saying you could be their granddaughter. For a lot of those people, you could be their granddaughter, and you're new to the business, and yet you're making your calls. He said, like, what? How? Basically, he asked her,
yeah,
how?
yeah,
How do you not get worried about, I don't know anything, I'm new, they're much more seasoned and experienced and older than me. And she basically said, I don't worry about that stuff.
I love it.
She said, I just can't worry about it. I just
Hmm.
have to make the call. I have to make the call.
Hey there, if you're loving the tips so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss out on more cool free tips coming your way. I'd also love to hear from you. Make sure to drop a comment below and let me know what you think, or what it is you want to see next. And we'll see you on the inside. See you. Yeah.
And so that would be, one thing that I would suggest. And then the other thing is well, not suggest, but one thing that I would point out, a story I would tell that lets you know that, it's an activity, Steve, right? You're right. There's nothing emotional about it. It can't be emotional. It just
Yeah.
has to be understood as it's an activity that I do in order to gain the result. And I just can't look at this thing emotionally, which ties me into, there's a Facebook post in our group of a new loan officer, and he in our loan officer breakfast club group, and he said, hey, I was in the new LO group. There's another group out there, new LO group. And he said, and I was looking for advice because I asked there, he's something to the effect, I asked over there for this and was just curious what people here had to say. But he said, I wish I had some kind of a script. Like, I'm looking for a script because it seems like, you know, the realtors that I've been calling are a little more grumpy than usual, or a lot more of them are
Yeah.
grumpy
Yeah.
right now. And so what winds up happening, Steve, is this loan officer, unfortunately, I reached out to him. I said, are you aware of what we teach here? Because you're in the right place. But he's in that mindset of, he's had a couple of negative calls, right? And now it's everybody. In his
Mm.
mind, he's feeling like most of them are this, or a lot of them are this.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we're going to be honest with ourselves, brother, he probably had 2 or 3 negative experiences on the phone. That's
Sure.
probably what it was, when there's literally thousands of real estate agents out there that he can call. Are we going
Hey,
to
you
run
know
into
what you
negative experience? We are.
you know
Okay.
what it
You know what I
makes
mean?
me think of? It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I want to get in shape, but man, I worked out yesterday and my muscles are sore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to do that again because I'm
It's
sore.
sore. So maybe there's another way,
Hey,
right? Is there another thing I can do?
yeah.
And so, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean,
Mm.
my advice would be, first of all, get a good plan. Make sure you got the right plan. you
Yeah,
know,
make sure that there are results attached to a plan that you're going to follow. Like I want to know, what are your results? And it's pretty amazing, even for Julia. And I just look at, we've got so many results. I think about each one of the people that have, especially through the alliance and the boot camps and the coaching that we do. And it's like, tell me the results. Results are good. Now, what did the people ahead of me do to get those results? And let me just focus on that. And guess what? When you're lifting weights, you're going to get sore.
hmm
When you're working out, you're going to feel some pain.
hmm
But it's the result that I'm going after. I was thinking about it too. You were talking about the activity, and it's like, well, I had this. I may or may not feel like it. I was thinking about this. How many times do you do laundry when you don't feel like it? How
Yeah.
many times do you wash your dishes because you don't feel like it? How many
Right.
times do you have to go shower or bathe? And I just, quite frankly, don't feel like it. And I've got a
Right.
chicken coop, and I got to open the door every morning. I got to
Yeah.
shut it every night. And it's like, some days I feel like it, some days I don't. But it doesn't matter the feeling, it's still got
Mm.
to get done. I
Mm.
still got to pull in the gas station, put gas in my car. I
Mm.
still got to wake up in the morning and figure out what I'm going to wear. And some
hmm
days I feel woo excited. And some
Yeah.
days I'm like, dude, I don't have nothing to wear with a
Yeah.
closet full of clothes,
Yeah.
right? And I think that that's life. And the more we recognize that prospecting is a part of the activity, and some days you feel it and some days you don't.
Mm.
And what happens is, the real professionals, the real winners in this industry are is when you realize leaders lead regardless of feeling.
Mm.
So I take action. And I'll tell you this, anytime you start, like today, we just happen to be recording, it's past client database day. Yeah, the first calls, you may not feel like it. But
Mm.
once you start reconnecting with your past clients and thanking them for the business, you're like, I love this. Why didn't I do it sooner?
Mm.
And what we know is the results are one for every 100 people in your database. I should expect one funding a month at a minimum
Mm.
for every 100 people in my database. And if I'm not getting that, there's a gap. And if I'll do some simple activity, regardless of the feeling, and be consistent with it, we'll see the results. And so it's such a great, I just think I'm going all the way back to your first comment about 2% a week. So
hmm
all you got to do is give 2% of your 100% battery in a year this week, which means I
Yeah.
just show up and execute. And
That's it.
what a great message, man. What a great encouragement. It's remembering why we're doing what we're doing, committing to lead ourselves regardless of the feelings, and taking action regardless of the response. Hey, I heard this and I was encouraging people yesterday with it. Frank, I can't control outcomes. I just can't.
Mm.
We I was talking to someone yesterday. He's like, "Hey, I made a lot of calls, very few answers," and I'm like, "Great job on the calls. That's an
Yeah.
input,
Yeah. You can
but you
control
can't
that.
control how
Yeah.
many people answer."
Yeah.
And I always think about this, and I think it was John Maxwell said it. I can't control outcomes, but I can control input.
Yeah.
And our job is to control the input, the activity, what we're doing each and every day. And we know that if we follow a proven plan, the outcome will come
Mm. Mm.
consistently over time. It doesn't happen immediate, but the more consistent you are with the input, the more consistent the output comes. So great message, great encouragement.
Yeah, yeah, and it just comes back to the very beginning. We have to make sure we continue to do the activity. We can't get
Yeah.
discouraged and stop because
Yeah.
we're losing 2% every week,
Yeah.
right?
I
We're
love it.
we're
I love
losing
it.
2% of our capacity every week. You can't stop. You have to
Yeah.
continually apply, continually do the plan, continually make the calls, continually do the
Mhm.
activities because otherwise you're dropping 2% per week,
Yeah.
right? So we need to redeem the time and make sure we're taking advantage of the time. So
Hey,
hey,
let me say one thing before we get off,
yeah,
because here's where I think they can reach out to you too. You know what I want to say to somebody who's listening to this later in the year, and you're like, man, you feel like I've lost 2%, 4%, 8%,
mm,
12%. You know what the first thought came to my mind, Frank?
mm,
I agree with the time you're losing 2% of your time per week.
mm,
But you know what? One of the things we've been able to show people is where you lose in time, with the right tools, you can make up and leverage.
that's right. Yeah, that's a
So
good point.
just because you've lost time, and I want to speak real quick to a seasoned vet, a seasoned veteran who may say, "Man, I've only got a handful of years left. I feel like I've only got 20% left in my battery life as far as a
Yeah,
career." Let
yeah.
me encourage you with this. because time is I love what Benjamin Franklin said. He said, if you'll steward the minutes, the years will take care of themselves. But
Mm,
for those of us and those of you who feel like you've lost some of those years, I want to encourage you with the right team, with the right support, with the right process, you can make up and leverage what you lost in time.
mm,
So don't let this be a discouragement, but let it be an encouragement that it's both and. Let
yeah.
me redeem my time. But look, if I've lost some time, we know and we can help you scale. And what would take 3 to 5 years in 3 to 6 months, if you've got the right team, you've got the right support, you've got the right process, you've got the right culture, you've got the right community that you're leaning into, you can use that as a leverage. And so, hey, Frank, if somebody wanted to talk to you about, hey, how do I leverage my time? How do I get out of the, you and I were talking about the other day, I keep thinking about it all week. I'm not going to be my processor's assistant.
Right.
Somebody's saying, man, I feel like I'm just my processor's
I'm my processor's
assistant.
processor. Yeah, it's not
What do I
cool.
do? How
Yeah.
like you've got some great tools. How do we get in touch with you
Look,
so that
Steve,
you can
I've
show us?
got this. I've got a real quick, a real simple Audible link, which is just frankcall.com.
Simple.
Frankcall.com. You
Love
just
it.
go there, you can grab 15 minutes. Love to chat with you about anything at all. But we can
Oh, love it.
certainly talk about leveraging a plan to make up for lost time.
Mm,
Not a
mm.
problem because that's how one of the ways that we
That's
can
how we
help.
do it.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of the. So just go to frankcall.com, frankcall.com.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get out of here, brother. Thanks for doing this. As
Bye, my
always, man, it's
man.
a good message, and we'll catch up with everybody next week. So we'll see ya. Adios.
See you.